Welcome to Short Movie Channel. Our movie begins today with a character named Kang In-soo. We learn that he has the ability to see spirits and ghosts. We see him on the subway, talking to his mom to reassure her, telling her that things are better now and that he doesn't see ghosts anymore. He also says that if something happens and the situation gets worse, he will stay with his uncle. After ending the call, he notices his necklace moving violently, which indicates that a spirit is present. A ghost appears, pretending not to notice him. His school friends arrive and start teasing him, saying they heard he can see ghosts. The ghost smiles and looks at him, but he tries to ignore it. Then he closes his eyes until the ghost leaves, but when he opens them, the ghost is right in front of him, causing him to jump. When he returns home, he moves the necklace in front of him to make sure there are no ghosts, then relaxes and opens the fridge to drink some water. Suddenly, a ghost appears, scaring him. It descends from the ceiling and whispers in his ear, asking for help to ease her anger so she can rest. He quickly figures out where her body is and goes with her. After hearing the screams of her family when they find out she's dead, he calls his uncle under the pretense of checking on him. He also tells him he will come live with him. His uncle is surprised and asks how two people who can see ghosts can live together. Kang replies that he doesn't want to live with his uncle, but he's started seeing ghosts everywhere. His uncle gets angry and tells him that since he's acting like a ghost helper, more ghosts will come to him for help. He warned him many times to stop pretending not to see them. Kang tells his uncle that it's no longer possible to ignore the ghosts, and that he has informed his school he will transfer. They also talk about Young, the girl who was his classmate when they were young. His uncle says that the incident in elementary school happened a long time ago, so he doesn't know anything about her. The next day, Kang gets on the bus to his uncle's house and sees a very beautiful girl at the station smiling at him. He arrives at his uncle's house, greets him, and jokes around, asking if he brought anything with him. When he enters, he finds the house full of talismans. He asks his uncle about them, and his uncle replies, "It's just some fake treatment, anything that comforts me." Kang also asks about his grandfather's necklace, and his uncle tells him it works well for him and detects ghosts. He finds out that his grandfather was the greatest exorcist. The next day, Kang goes to school, enters his class, and sits in his seat. A girl comes up to him and touches his hand, but he's indifferent and doesn't care at all. In the middle of class, he hears a strange noise, looks around, and suddenly sees a girl's bloodied hand on the window. He gets scared and looks at the other students to see if anyone else saw what he saw, but unfortunately, no one else saw it. He looks back at the window, but the hand is gone. When he gets home, he sits with his uncle and tells him what happened. His uncle explains that the ghost is filled with hatred and that these spirits can be terrifying. He tells him to ignore them. The next day, while walking by a lake on his way to school, he sees a blind girl sitting with her dog. He draws them, and suddenly, the girl from the bus appears and sits next to him, asking about his drawing and whether he sees the dog. She explains that she's blind and the dog helps her. At that moment, his classmates Hae-shul and Kim Tae intervene, telling him there's no dog. Kang looks around, but the girl disappears. Hae-shul pulls him aside and gets angry, asking why he's not interested in the prettiest girl in the class. He mentions the incident with Young and shares his story about the ghosts. Hae-shul warns him to stay away from Hyun-ji, the girl who was holding Kang's hand in class, if he doesn't want to be exposed. While Kang is thinking, a girl named Song-hee calls her mom to ask if she's found anything. While walking on the road, she starts feeling like someone is following her. Suddenly, Hyun-ji and Nara, her friends, start joking around with her. When she gets home, she finds a black bag hanging from the fan. As she gets closer, she notices her dog's chain on the floor. When she gets near the bag, it explodes, and it's filled with blood. Then, a terrifying ghost appears to her, and she starts screaming. She calls her friend Nara and says, "Sai-hi's here," asking her to come help, but she doesn't see Sai-hi again. Her friend doesn't hear anything, and the door shuts behind her. We then hear her screaming as she gets killed. The next day in class, Hyunji tells Haikol that Song-hee seems to have run away from home again because she hasn't returned since yesterday, and there's been no news from her. Kang-ju goes to sit on the field, and the ghost girl shows up again, telling him, "Don't ignore me. I know you can see me. I won't ask you to set me free, and I don't need anything from you. I'm just bored and want to talk to someone, and you're the only one I can talk to." Kang-ju agrees and asks her, "Were you in this school?" She answers that she doesn't know and doesn't even remember her name because she can't remember anything about herself. Suddenly, they see Haikol hitting someone from the school, and the ghost girl says to him, "Aren't you going to do anything?" She asks him to stop him, feeling very scared, sensing something strange, and runs away. But before she leaves, she says to him, "The masked ghost is here." Kang-ju pulls out his chain and starts moving with it, trying to follow it to the place where the ghost is. The chain leads them to the storage room, where they see the ghost of Song-hee. The storage room is filled with dust, so Kang-ju shuts the door and heads straight home, feeling guilty. He thinks about what the ghost girl had said and feels bad for not acting, not helping those who are bullied. He remembers when he was in elementary school, when he saw the ghost of Yi-young, and she told him about the criminal who killed her. But he was too scared to speak about him, and his uncle told him, "Forget it now. Don't stress about it. He's already been caught. You were also a victim of this city, and you had to leave it too." Suddenly, he looked up and saw the ghost of his teacher, Song-hee, staring down at him from above. He was terrified at that moment, and didn't know how to move because he was on the ground, holding a piece of metal. The next day, he was with the ghost girl at the house of Yi-young, and her father thanked him for helping them find Yi-young. He left while crying. Suddenly, Yi-young appeared and laughed. She spent all that time saying goodbye before leaving and thanked him for finding her. He felt a sense of relief and left, spending the day with the ghost girl. He started telling her about his relationship with Yi-young, that they had been friends since they were little, and that she drowned. He also told her who killed her, but he was too scared to say their name, so he left and walked away. He continued the day and took pictures with the ghost girl, but of course, she didn't show up in the photos. He returned to school, where Yongji was making fun of someone in class and hitting them. He stood up and stopped her, telling her to stop what she was doing. When he got home, he drew a picture of the ghost girl and was very impressed by her. He felt like someone was behind him, and it turned out to be her. She appeared and started teasing him. He went out to watch TV and saw the news that they had arrested someone who was accused of a murder, and he was wearing a mask. He said to his uncle that maybe this ghost had some grudge against them. His uncle told him, "Leave me alone with my problems." He sat with the ghost teacher, Song-hee, and asked her, "What do you want me to do to get rid of her?" She told him that Sai-hai was the one with the mask, and when he asked about Sai-hai's grudge, she didn't answer. The next day, Kim Tae and Nara went to school after it had closed. He found out that she was going to the bathroom while he went to sleep at his desk, waiting for her return. When he opened his eyes, he saw Sai-hai, and she killed him. The blood covered the place. The bathroom door kept knocking on Nara, and she thought it was Kim Tae playing around. She asked him to stop because she was scared. When she came out, she opened all the bathroom doors one by one. When she opened the last one, she saw a ghost sitting inside. She quickly ran and called for Kim Tae, entered the classroom, and locked herself in. She called Hyun-ji and told her that Song-hai was wearing a mask like Sai-hai's, but she didn't manage to finish her sentence because the ghost was behind her and killed her. The next day, there was an investigation for the students because Kim Tae, Song-hai, and Nara had disappeared. Hyun-ji was listening to a recording from Nara in the class, and she was scared too. When Kang asked the class about Sai-hai, everyone got scared, and one of them said she had committed suicide at school. He asked them to show him her picture, but no one responded because they were scared of Hyun-ji and Haishul. Kang went to play with the ghost girl and received a message from someone in the class with a picture of Sai-hai saying, "Don't ask me for anything else." He sat with the ghost girl and asked her, "Why do you think Sai-hai died?" She told him that no one asked about the cause of her death because they all knew. That's why she walks around wearing a ghost mask. He then called Hyunji and Haishul and told them that it was their turn now. Sai-hai would kill them if they didn't apologize and ask for forgiveness. He hit Haishul, and Hyunji stopped and told him that Kong was right. She also showed him a picture of Sai-hai with her father, who was looking at them with terrifying eyes. Hyunji was scared of her friends disappearing one by one, and she began to suspect that the reason behind it was Sai-hai's father. Kong arrives home and sees his uncle locked in a room, holding an amulet to protect himself from the ghost. The ghost of the school, Song-hee, appears and looks funny. Kong tells him not to worry, saying, "Forget it, it's fine." But then he sees Song-hee's ghost right behind him. As soon as he turns to look at her, she's right there, very close to him. He gets scared and puts an amulet on her face, but she eats it. Kong talks to his uncle, and they both realize that Song-hee's ghost was telling the truth about what she said, and that the masked ghost is actually Sai-hai. His uncle explains that it's a multi-personality ghost, and every ghost gets overwhelmed by pain and hatred, creating new personalities. But the most important thing is that they have to stop this vengeful ghost. Kong receives a message from Hyunji, telling him that they're going to Sai-hai's father's house. His uncle tries to stop him, but Kong insists on going, and they argue. His uncle says he can't go with him because he hasn't been outside since the ghost left and doesn't think he'll be able to go out there. Meanwhile, Hyunji and Haikol arrive and get scared, almost ready to run, but the door is locked. Haikol gets hit on the head repeatedly until he dies. They can't even see who is there. Hyunji gets more and more scared and sees Sai-hai in front of her. She apologizes to her, but Sai-hai doesn't accept the apology and kills her. At that moment, Kong arrives, hears screams from Hyunji and Haikol inside, and realizes they're being killed in there. He enters the house, and when he looks around, he finds everyone dead together, which scares him a lot. He gets weak and then sees the ghost girl he loves in the closet, wearing the mask. He removes the mask, crying, because he knows it's Sai-hai. We learn that Sai-hai was one of the students who defended others from bullying, like Hyunji and her group. She had once reported Hyunji to the principal, but the principal scolded Hyunji, saying she should bring her parents. However, Sai-hai replied that she didn't have any family, and the principal hit her. This made Hyunji mad, and she found the complaint on the principal's desk. Hyunji took it, went to class, and compared the handwriting to find out who had made the complaint. She eventually found out it was Sai-hai. Since that moment, Hyunji started bullying her, cutting her hair, torturing her, and threatening her to stay silent, saying she would beat her if she spoke. One day, at school, Hyunji was really angry at Sai-hai, pulled off her mask, and took the opportunity to beat her with her group. Sai-hai's father saw what was happening at home, and told her he would report it. However, she stopped him, saying it was useless because they wouldn't stop bullying her, and she was afraid if he reported them, they might harm her. None of her friends helped her, and everyone stayed away, fearing they'd get bullied too. Eventually, Sai-hai couldn't take it anymore, and sadly, she committed suicide. Kong searches Sai-hai's house for her belongings and finds a notebook with a list of bullies, including the school principal, who never helped her. Meanwhile, at school, the principal is sitting at her desk with her laptop open when suddenly she sees a ghost in front of her. She gets scared, and Sai-hai's ghost takes over her body, making her send a message to the students to gather in the library. Kong calls his uncle and tells him that Sai-hai's ghost is in the school and that he's the only one who can stop it. His uncle agrees to help and leaves the house. He performs the rituals and places the amulet on the sword. Kong goes to the library, warns the students to leave quickly, but the library door locks, and they smell gasoline. They all get scared, and suddenly Sai-hai's vengeful ghost emerges from the principal's body and is about to burn them all alive. But then Kong appears, and the real Sai-hai's spirit appears. There's a struggle between the kind and evil versions of Sai-hai. The good ghost asks the evil one to stop because the students have nothing to do with this, but the evil ghost insists on continuing her revenge. Kong grabs his grandfather's necklace, looks for the ghost's weakness, and finally manages to control her. He shows her the notebook with the names of the bullies. We learn that Sai-hai used to be Kang's childhood friend, and she loved him. He tells her that he knows everything, and at the same time, his uncle is stabbing the real Sai-hai's body with the sword. Sai-hai grabs the knife her uncle gave her and kills herself to stop the evil ghost. Before disappearing, she kisses Kang. He cries, mourning her loss, but at the same time, he feels happy because she's finally free from her pain and hatred. 5 years later, Kang is now a teacher. On his first day at school, he sees a ghost sitting at the back of the classroom. He smiles and asks his students who used to sit there, but they lie, saying the student moved away. However, Kang knows they're lying because he can see the ghost in front of him. The ghost approaches him and suddenly attacks him. And that's where our story ends. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe.